The world's biggest cruise ship is about to be launched. And today we're asking the question, is Icon of the Seas too big? Hey everyone, what is up? My name is Jordan and this is JJ Cruise. Thank you so much for joining into the channel today. In honor of the world's largest cruise ship getting ready to launch, we're going to launch a brand new series here on the channel called First Look. We're going to be looking at a lot of the details and information and new information that we have coming out of Royal Caribbean about their biggest cruise ship, the biggest cruise ship in the world, the Icon of the Seas. Now, there is a lot of information to cover. Jared and I will be on the ship later in the month for the first inaugural sailing. So you're going to want to tune in to JJ Cruise for all information regarding Icon of the Seas. We are so close to hitting our goal of 50,000 subscribers, so if you consider yourself a cruise nerd just like Jared and myself, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the thumbs up. On today's First Look, we're going to ask the question, can you build a ship that is too big? There's a lot of discussion and conversation both in the media as well as online and social media about this specific topic. And we have a lot of new information coming out about the operations of the ship, how they plan on getting people on and off the ship, how they're going to move people around. How do you handle having 9,950 people on one ship out in the open sea? Well, from embarkation to deembarkation, we're going to address each of those topics today. Like I already said, Icon of the Seas will have 9,950 people on board. Now, over 7,000 of those people will specifically be guests. The ship comes in at a whopping 250,800 gross tons and will officially be the biggest cruise ship in the world. Something that I think is very fascinating about this cruise ship is, while yes, humans physically built the ship, computers and artificial intelligence actually lended a helping hand in things like traffic flow and figuring how to get people on and off the ship effectively. If you've ever sailed out of Miami or the port of Galveston, Royal Caribbean has really shown us that they have put the work in to getting people on and off ships very quickly. Embarkation should be no different for Icon of the Seas. While there will be over 7,000 guests getting on and off the ship weekly, they are going to preload and unload these people on two different gangways. So there'll be a gangway more towards the front of the ship and the back of the ship, and they believe that they're going to be able to get people on and off with very little line. Once you get on a cruise ship, you do have to go through the muster process. I think Royal Caribbean was being extremely intentional during the pandemic when they patented the e-muster program. If you've sailed on Royal Caribbean or Celebrity, so the Royal Caribbean brands, you no longer have to stand out on deck in the heat or the sun, waiting on everyone to get there for your muster station. You now e-muster on the app and check in specifically at your muster station. I think this is one of the smartest things any cruise ship has ever done because it makes mustering very easy. And frankly, from a passenger perspective, it makes the process a lot easier to remember where exactly you go, where you get your life jacket, and what you do. Sometimes when you're standing out in the heat with 200 people around you at your mustard station, you're not always listening to the announcement or to the captain or to the person in front of you showing you how to put your vest on. As for moving people around the ship, this is something that I find very interesting on Icon of the Seas. They have actually gone down in the number of elevators that they've put on board from Wonder of the Seas. Now, Wonder of the Seas is, of course, the last Oasis class ship that has been released. We have seen a lot of information about Wonder of the Seas. We've actually been on Wonder of the Seas ourselves, and on that ship, there are 24 elevators. From what we can count on Icon of the Seas, there will only be 20. So we're looking at 4 less elevators, but on the map, the elevators do look a little bit larger if we're actually just looking at the perspective here. But something else that we have seen added on Icon of the Seas is also escalators. We did see escalators coming up from the gangway on some of the Oasis class ships, so these aren't brand new to Royal Caribbean, but there is now escalators on decks 2, 4, and 5 to move people between those 3 decks. I think that this is very interesting because I assume decks 4 and 5 will be the busiest decks with the most dining venues and shopping. This is also where you're going to find places like the theater and other entertainment. So I'm assuming that these were placed very strategically and that they are hoping people will take the escalators up and down rather than taking the elevators, specifically if people are just going up and down one deck. We'll have to see if their choice in going down in elevators and adding an escalator is going to work or not. This is yet to be seen, but I do have high hopes because escalators can move people pretty quickly as long as they don't break down a lot. As for stopping at ports, Icon of the Seas will be making ports of call to Mexico, the Bahamas, St. Martin, St. Thomas, and Honduras. Now, all of these places can take a ship of this size, so it's not going to be a problem for the ship to pull up and dock. But what people have been afraid of or concerned online is how people are moving on and off the ship. Once again, getting over 7,000 guests on and off the ship effectively and quickly can be very hard. Royal Caribbean will use 4 entry points on Icon of the Seas to get people on and off the ship. And this is what they are claiming. I think this is a big claim, but they believe that they can move people on and off the ship at about 120 people per minute. Their ultimate goal is to have little to no lines or queues for people moving on and off the ship, specifically at these port destinations. Deembarkation will be very similar to embarkation, where they will use 2 gangways to move people on and off the ships. I have been wondering if this will be kind of a nightmare because it is on some other cruise lines. What gives me hope is that it has never been super difficult when getting on or off any of the Oasis class ships. Now, this is what is interesting. There is a lot of hubbub and a lot of conversation about Icon of the Seas, about how it is the largest cruise ship in the world, and about the size. And the question, is it too big? From a guest perspective, there are actually only 7% more people on Icon of the Seas than the max capacity of Wonder of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's last Oasis-class ship that was recently released. In terms of space, it is actually only 6% bigger. Now, I know when you're talking about these huge numbers, like 250,000 gross tons, every percent that you get bigger is a big deal, and it will be a noticeable difference. But the passenger count only going up about 7%, I feel as though since they've mastered the Oasis class, they've gotten people on and off those ships successfully, I do have this firm belief that it will be fine and that Icon of the Seas will actually not be too big, but it will just be an evolution of cruising, entertainment, dining venues from the Oasis class. Of course, it's going to be completely different. It is a totally new class of ship, so I expect things to be bigger and better and incredible. We are so excited about Icon of the Seas, and we cannot wait to get on the ship in a few short weeks. I do think there is one major con to this ship, and this is a con to cruise ships getting larger in general. And that is the fact that it's not as accessible to as many ports. I do think that when you get on these mega ships, the ships are the destination. You're going more for the ship than you are often for the stops because these ships can't get into incredible places like Bonaire, for example, or Bermuda. It's very difficult for these large ships to get into these smaller ports or smaller island, and it's even more difficult to tender 7, 8, 9,000 people on and off a ship if you are going to a really small location. Sometimes these small locations can't even handle that many people in port in one day, so it does deter the large ships from really getting to go to unique, smaller, and cool destinations. That is the one con, but now I ask you, what do you think? Do you think Icon of the Seas has gotten too big? Is there too many people? Is 9,950 people on one ship too many people? Or do you think the more the merrier and you are ready for the Icon of the Seas party? Let me know what you think about today's first look in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, hit that like button, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much, and until next time, see ya.